Welcome to the Hello Road podcast. This is Ethan.
This is Paul.
And this is episode number 9.
Number 9.
And
number
I do
9.
believe that number 9. I do believe that one of these days we need some sort of intro music.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll do it for the next episode number 10. That'll be a milestone for us. Some intro music.
There we go.
Our last guest, Derek Powell, who was on last week, you should listen to that episode because it was great.
Yes.
He suggested before the show that the theme song should have sort of a 70s game show vibe going on. I don't know if I agree with that. What do you think, Paul?
I don't know. I mean, when I think of that, I still think of the music that's used in like The Price is Right.
I love that song.
I mean, but yeah, it's great music. It's very, very catchy, but it is also very 1970s. But
yeah,
it's not a bad thing. It's not. So maybe we could 80s it up a little bit, throw some little synth in there or something.
Okay. All right. I like it. I'll try to come up with something. And if any of our listeners have any ideas, just shoot us a message on our social medias.
That would work too.
So, wow, we had a lot going on this past week, huh?
We sure did. We did a lot this past weekend.
Little road trip in the old 2018 Honda Fit Sport, your latest acquisition.
Yes. That we learned is it's an okay road trip car. There's
fine.
Things we could change, but it served its purpose well. It got us to where we needed to go with very little fuss. It didn't break down.
Of course not.
It served its purpose, and it carried all of our stuff with
ease,
with very much with a lot of ease. So it was good. It performed really good on the trip, so that was kind
pretty
of
decent gas mileage.
Yeah, it was. It's kind of funny. I was thinking about that because I know we calculated on the way back that the one tank that was basically spent all driving around, to and from. I was expecting to get higher mileage than we got, but we got about 33 on one of them. And I think we were kind of discussing this because when that car is in 6th gear and it's going at 80 miles an hour about, which is the speed that everybody travels on the 15.
Pretty much. On the 15 to Vegas. For the listeners, we're on our way to Vegas from Los Angeles.
That's right. It spins at about 4,000 RPMs, which is pretty high. And if you drive it at the speed limit at 65, it's only a tick over 3,000 RPM. So not much of a difference, but a little surprising, but it is what it is.
The other thing I think you probably did maybe 20 times while you were driving is you're in 6th and you like, am I in 4th? So you're like shift out of 6 and go into
That's true.
Oh, I thought I was in 4th. No, it's actually in 6. It's just revving like crazy high.
Yeah. That's the other thing I did too. I was like, oh yeah, I'm in 6th.
Yeah. But overall it's like it was a good it was fine for a road trip. It wouldn't be my first choice, but
no.
It's what you got. And
but I think we did come up with a good idea pretty much on the way back when we're like, you know what, it would have been cool to do? We should have turoed something.
Yeah.
that would have been nice,
Yes.
Good experience to try something a little bit different. But live and learn. So it was a great trip out to that whole area with the Fit. But if we do it again next time, maybe we'll do it behind the wheel of something from our friends at Turo.
Yes, exactly. And actually, that's funny because I have like 4 or 5 tabs open on my browser right now of cars I'd like to rent through Turo for my next video.
Oh, okay.
I've got, let's see, what do I have here? I kind of narrowed it down just in terms of what's available on the day that I'm going to rent. So I'm looking at a 2018 Honda Civic Type R, which looks like a ton of fun. I mean, it's sort of designed for like 13-year-olds. Like I look at this thing and it looks like, just lots of plastic and lots of the crazy wing, and it's perfect. If 13-year-olds had their license, this would be the perfect vehicle for them.
Or for your podcast co-host. I do like that car.
Okay, yes. Yeah, so you're 13 pretty much.
I'm basically 13 at heart. So
I mean, if I do end up renting this car, I'm super looking forward to driving it. I'll just if I'm passing by a reflective building, I just will not look because I don't think I can deal with the look of this car very much.
Okay.
But it's just too much for me.
Maybe just unbolt the rear wing. It's probably just a couple bolts and just leave it in the garage while you go out and do your video. And
sure. Yeah. I mean, it's more than just the wing. there's like creases and bumps and flares and scoops and plastic and
there's a lot going on with that car, but I
yeah.
think a lot of people, once you drive it, you can look past the creases and bumps and wings and all and
Yeah.
big large black plastic fake grills.
Fake grills. Yep.
And it's supposed to be a really enjoyable and fun car to drive. So
Yes,
but
and that's exactly why I want to check this thing out.
yeah. Oh, totally. Okay. What else is open on those tabs?
All right. So the other one is a 2018 Audi RS5. So this one could also be kind of fun. 444 horsepower, twin turbo V6. You know, it's the newer design. MSRP is like 85,000, so it's quite a bit more expensive than the Honda. More of a grand tourer, but from what I've read, that's another one that's high up on the list, and they're actually the same price. They're both $99 a day.
Really? So, that's it?
Yep.
$99 a day to drive a 55 horsepower?
444.
44. Wow.
Yep.
That's not bad right there.
So that one, you know, that's kind of maybe a little bit more my style, and just in terms of, you know, yeah, it looks aggressive, but it's not over the top.
All right.
And then the last one is just it's $39 a day, and you've owned one of these cars. You could probably tell me all about it, but it's the 2017 Ford Fiesta St.
Ooh.
Never driven one.
Okay.
So that's another one I'm really looking forward to checking out.
Well, that's an interesting crop right there to choose from. Yeah, that Fiesta St, you know, I did own one for about 2.5 years. So I had some decent time with it. And for the price that you'd pay to rent that thing for a day, yeah, that would probably be my choice, just to see what the buzz is about, because there was a huge buzz about that car when it came out. And I bought into the buzz, literally. And I have mixed feelings on the car. So
interesting.
Provided the one that's up for rent on Turo has the Recaro sport seats in it, then that's going to make a big difference in your opinion of the car, I think. So
yes, this one does not.
Oh,
yeah, this one does not.
Still take it out. I think that you should still rent that one, take it out and see what it's about.
Okay.
And then, you know, I'll wait for feedback. If you get the Civic Type R, then yeah, you need to tell me what day that is so I can come show up and be, you know, red co-pilot with you on that one.
Yeah.
Cool.
There's one more that actually the same guy that owns the Fiesta also has a Shelby GT350. And that's $200 a day. So it's a little pricey, a little bit over my budget, but you know, for a day, I'm, you know, shooting a video with it, I think it might be worth it.
And the sounds. It's all the sounds it makes.
All the sounds. Yes. Flat plane V8. It's going to sound amazing. Also another car I have not driven. So totally looking forward to that. I got to imagine it's got to be an amazing experience.
Yeah.
It's too bad that Angeles Crest Highway is not open all the way, because this would be a perfect car to cruise up there with.
Yeah. And is it open to the tunnels, or the tunnels?
I believe Angeles Crest Highway currently is still only open to Mount Wilson.
Okay, so that's before the tunnels then.
Yeah, yes. Quite a bit before the tunnels. So plenty of other fun roads to take this on. So
but you want to go through a tunnel if you have that car. So you can downshift it and just hear it popping and cracking everywhere. And sounding awesome. So well, cool. Those all sound like excellent choices. Yeah, it'd be interesting if you get the Fiesta ST, because, you know, then we can have a whole episode about me maybe complaining about the Fiesta ST and get into the depths of why I did eventually get rid of the car.
Okay. So, yeah.
Well, those all sound like a ton of fun. Yeah, I was on Turo the other night before I was falling asleep. I was looking at stuff and I was like, you know, my birthday's in August. So what could I convince my wife to maybe give me a Turo credit for? And I was looking and I was like, oh, I found a new NSX and I was like, that would be a ton of fun. It's a lot of money though. I mean, yeah, it was I think it was about $400 for a day.
Yeah.
But that's kind of an experience. I'd pay $400 to go and enjoy that car for the day and drive around and enjoy everything about it. So, you know.
Yeah, for special occasion. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, totally. You know, it's funny. You're going to have to give me like a tutorial on how to work Turo, because like I am having so many issues with it, like finding cars and stuff. So yeah,
Oh, interesting.
yeah,
Yeah.
the app is not Paul friendly, so it doesn't have like ease of use for me.
Sure.
So
You know, it's funny. I actually generally look for vehicles on a computer. I don't use the app for
oh,
looking for vehicles. And it seems to be pretty straightforward as long as you zoom out the map so it's finding things
oh,
in the map area.
okay. You
Um,
mean this
but
thing I'm staring at right here, this computer that I never use unless we're recording a podcast? So
yeah, pretty much.
maybe I
Yeah.
should use it to go on the internet instead of
Does
just my
anybody
phone.
use computers to go on the internet anymore? I'm not
No.
sure. It's funny. I was just looking at my YouTube stats for the YouTube channel,
Mhm.
and I was surprised that I guess I shouldn't be surprised, but it was something like 70% or 80% mobile for
Really?
people watching videos on my channel, which probably applies to most people's channels. I just thought I'd never really looked at it before, and I was like, oh wow, computers was actually well, it was about equal with watching on a television. So I thought that was interesting. So a little side note, maybe.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, the majority of my YouTube watching is done either on my phone or through my PlayStation 4. Like,
Okay.
that's pretty much it. I think I've
Yep.
maybe watched one YouTube video on my laptop, and
Oh, okay.
and
Yeah.
that's it. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, it is kind of just the way it goes now, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah. I guess I'm just in the minority. I generally watch YouTube videos on my computer, but
Well, maybe I should try Turo on the computer after we're done with this and see if I can find something. Maybe somebody's got who knows, some crappy thing that I would just adore to rent, and it's right around the corner for me, and I don't know.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Along with the good stuff, there's a fair amount of just kind of junky cars. In fact I for a while I rented out my 1999 Toyota Tacoma, and people
Uh-huh.
just use it to move and stuff like that. It was kind of a garbage car, but people rented it. I think I charged like 30 or 40 bucks a day, and it
Uh-huh.
was perfect. But yeah, if you want something, you want like a 2007 PT Cruiser or like a 2012 Mitsubishi Galant, some cars that are just kind of forgotten. Those are on Turo too.
There you go.
Yeah,
Oh, I'm gonna have to look that up. That's the end of the spectrum that I could really go after.
sure.
Not just the $400 a day NSXs. That's for special occasions.
Yes. Get that Galant.
Get that gallant, exactly. But yeah, we touched at it real quick at the top. We did have an adventure this past weekend.
Yes.
So the main purpose of this trip was the Radwood show in Las Vegas last Saturday. When they announced it, which was not that long ago, actually, we both kind of were like,
It
oh,
came up really
it
fast.
did. We're like,
Yeah.
okay, we need to
Like,
go to
whoa,
this. And
another
so,
Radwood show.
yeah, it was like a pop up show real fast.
Yes.
So, but yeah, we made a cool weekend out of it. Took off Friday from Southern California and made our way out to through the desert on the 15. And kind of the first stop we made was somewhere I have never been before, and I've always wanted to go. And I'm sure the vast majority of our listeners have seen that live in Southern California, at least have seen this place, and I always thought, huh, I wonder what
Sure.
that is.
So yeah, if you have driven from Los Angeles general area to Las Vegas, right around Baker, California, you've probably passed a sign that was Zzyzx Road, and it's actually pronounced Xyzax. I thought it was pronounced Zzyzx, but it's actually pronounced Xyzax. So it's
Mhm.
Xyzax Road, and you probably have seen that, and you know, and maybe just you were like, "What the hell is up with that weird
Right?
name?" and just drove by and then forgot. And then when you drive home from Vegas, you're like, "Oh yeah, there's that weird street again," and then you just
Uh-huh.
forget about it.
I thought about that probably the 15, 20, 25 times I've driven out to
Yeah,
Vegas.
exactly. You're like, what is up with that?"
Yep.
Yeah, so we took a. I've actually been there once before, and we took that road right along a dry lake bed. I forget the name of the dry lake bed, but
Mhm.
go down about 4 miles down this road, turns to dirt for a little bit, and then it turns back to pavement, and then back to dirt, and you end up at a former health spa, and it's pretty interesting to see. You know, you just kind of you're driving in the middle of the desert, and then all of a sudden you see, oh, it looks like there's an oasis up ahead. You see some
Yep.
palm trees, and then you come across this lake, and there's like an old broken fountain in the middle of the lake,
Mhm.
and it's kind of hard to understand why this is here. What was your reaction when you first pulled up?
Oh, bewilderment, I think, would be my first one. my first reaction was it felt like I was on the back lot at Universal Studios.
Yeah, definitely.
Like kind of on a movie set.
Yep.
That's exactly what it felt like. I know we joked about it looking like that one. I forgot the exact area it was, but in the television show Lost, when they were where the bunkers
Mhm.
were, it was very similar to that, but also could have doubled as like I don't know some sort of outpost and some sort of early 1900s Western. After the West was already won. I don't know. It had some very interesting. Um, Characteristics of the way the buildings were. They looked old, but some of them didn't look old. It's just it was hard to explain, but it was very odd as there was a lot of kind of weird stuff about like that broken fountain in the middle of the
Yep.
little man-made lake was just huh. It's
Yeah.
kind of there was yeah, lots of that boat that's just hanging out there. It's just like
Yeah.
huh. If you were to
Yeah.
put that boat in that lake, it wouldn't be able to turn itself around. It was
There's no water.
there's no water. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I definitely got the Lost vibe too. This is sort
yeah.
of this is some sort of Dharma initiative
There you go.
center that people forgot about.
I was expecting to see somebody had like graffitied one of those signs or something somewhere, but I didn't see it,
Yeah.
which was good because graffiti is not the best thing. But yeah, that's what I thought too. I was like,
Yeah.
Dharma initiative. That's
Yes,
what I
you
thought.
exactly. So you get out there and it's super quiet, and
Hmm.
there's one of the other first things you see is an old swing set. That's
Hmm.
kind of odd, and it's kind of windy out there, so that's sort of swaying in the wind, and it's just kind of eerie and kind of creepy.
Yes.
And then there's this. You just walk through a little bit, and it just looks like an old hotel. And in fact, that's what it was,
Mhm.
sort of, essentially. So this was from 1944 to 1974. This was the Xyzax Mineral Springs and Healing Center, and this was created by a man named Curtis House Springer, and he was a radio evangelist in the 1930s. Actually, kind of a popular one, and he was a guy that used his radio show to peddle like homeopathic potions and emphasize healthy living and that kind of stuff. So he created this healing center, he called it, and it was supposed to be a place for people to just kind of relax and detox and listen to sermons. He had sermons that played on the loudspeaker there, which is also kind of a weird, kind of lost, kind of creepy thing.
Yeah.
And what he would do is he didn't really require people to pay. He would, as people were there, he would ask for donations, and he would try to sell them his healing mineral waters and potions and that kind of thing. So
Uh,
he was kind of the traditional like snake oil salesman kind of guy. But and the interesting thing about how he acquired this land is um, he back in the day, back in the 40s, he filed a mining claim, which basically allowed him access to the land because he said he was going to be doing mining on it. But turns out he did not do that. He built a
no.
healing center. So it's just weird. So you walk around a little bit more, you walk a little bit further back and you find like baths almost,
Yeah.
or there's actually a pool, and there's
Mhm.
these individual baths where apparently he had some like soaking tubs, and he actually said that it was a natural hot springs, but in reality he was lying and that he actually just boiled the water. Again,
You don't suppose.
kind of a shiesty guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was kind of weird, didn't you think? All those
Oh,
weird,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. That I mean, it was you're walking into the complex, and you see the thing that said, I think the sign says like the pool house, and
Yes.
it it has the windows on it that go just to that could open, which was hilarious, even though it was all outside. Um,
Yeah, that was kind of a cool visual. There's like this
it was.
wall, like a wall with these windows, but there were no windows. It was
Mhm.
how do you describe it? It's almost like window panes where there's no glass,
Yeah,
and it
basically.
looked right out over into the salt flats, which
Yeah.
was beautiful, but it
Yeah.
was odd.
Yeah, it was a little odd. Yeah, so there was that pool, but what I found more odd in there was what I discovered when I kind of went and hopped over that tree stump, and you can
Yep.
actually go and see inside, and there were like, how do you describe it? Little individual saunas, I guess, is what
Yeah.
they were supposed to be, and they were probably about I don't know, 4 or 5 feet deep a piece, and there was 8 or 9 of them in this room that we could see at least. Um, a little creepy, a little I don't know what's the word I want to use with it. I kept talking about this the whole time we were out there. I was like, it felt like one of those Fallout video games. If you've ever played them, or any of the listeners have ever played them, like Fallout 3 or 4, when you're
Yeah.
walking around the wasteland and you come across buildings that are just dilapidated, and yeah, that's kind of what it felt like. So if you're into that sort of stuff, this is definitely a place you need to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there was those, and then we saw that, and there was a lot of just a lot of cool visuals to see there, and like the other cool thing too that I didn't know was that they just let you kind of go wherever the hell you want there, and you can walk on almost anything there. And we were all over the pool house thing, looking and taking pictures and just peering in everywhere that you could to see all the cool sights to see. And that was really awesome. And nobody said anything to us. And that kind of led us to explore further. And we got ourselves over to that other area. What did it say on there? It said like Sunset Place or something.
Yeah, it said Sunset, I think the
It
building
said,
said that.
and they must have been like dorms, I guess. Individualized dorms,
Well,
maybe?
yeah, I mean, like I said earlier, people could stay here. So I
Yeah,
guess maybe they were little hotel rooms, I guess. Um,
very little.
yeah, very small, like one room with a small, tiny bathroom.
Yes.
Yeah, and that was all, naturally decaying
Yes.
mostly. There was a room full of toilets.
Yes, there was.
But mostly it had just been decaying just through the work of nature.
Mhm.
Not necessarily through people going through there and kind of ruining it,
Which was
which is
really nice to see, because
yeah,
more often than not, places like this get discovered, like, not to backtrack too much, but when we that old, water park on the way out on the 15 that you can run into, like
Rockahula.
Rockahula, that place
Yep,
used to be able to see the sign, and there was water slides, and now it's just a
it's
graffiti mess.
destroyed.
It's destroyed, but this place is not even close to that level. Like, there wasn't even that much graffiti besides, like, kind of silly things written on the wall. Like, what did that
Sure,
one what did that one thing say?
it said
Beware
like
the
beware of like lizard man or something.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Yeah,
I'm down with that. But yeah, that was cool. They were all in a line, and we can only really get into one of them, and we had to climb out the window of one and climb through the
yeah,
windows of another one. But there was probably like 12 of those little rooms all like lined up together. So
yeah,
it was pretty cool and eerie at the same time, because it just felt like a lot of people would stop at that pool house and not press on any further. And
yep.
so who knows, maybe we were the first people in a few months to go step in there and see what's going on. And like, there's a I don't even know what species of palm trees there are, but there's a ton of those palms that are
Yep.
planted there. And palm trees take a lot of work to take care of, and you got to
Oh
clean up
yeah,
because they drop their palm fronds. So there's a ton of these around that place, and it was just I was walking across those things, and who knows how deep down it went. I mean, I
yeah,
was, that would have not been good if I fell through, but it's just like they keep the property clean to a degree, but it's also kind of overtaken by nature with all of those palm fronds everywhere and just overgrowth, like those 12 little hut things you can only really access to easily unless you want to start climbing in and out of windows. So,
yeah, exactly. And I bet when they built these units, the palm trees were probably just a few feet tall.
yeah.
What happened is 1974, 19 like in the early 70s, this guy Springer, he was jailed for misleading people with all these potions. I think one of them was called Andaluvian tea, which
Mm.
it was supposed to like cure baldness and cancer and all these things, and it pretty much was just like laxatives. Um,
Oh,
so eventually, that brought the attention of this land, and his mining claims to the land were challenged by the BLM, the Bureau of Land Management, and they said, "Hey, you have no right to build on this site." And it's kind of interesting that it took them so long to realize what he was doing here. He was there from 44 to 74, so 30 years he had this thing going on there, and then eventually they evicted him. So I can imagine that all of those palm trees and all the stuff there, they probably just stopped taking care of that in the mid 70s, and it's
yeah.
just completely overtaken everything.
Yeah, it seemed that way.
Yeah.
It seemed like it hasn't been gardened since the mid-70s.
What's going on now is California State University started managing this land. I think it's
Mhm.
technically Department of Interior, or I'm not sure exactly what it is, but so there's a desert study center there, and they're the ones that are managing the land and keeping up the buildings and that kind of thing. So
Mhm.
many of the buildings have been kept up and are in very good shape.
Yeah.
But these ones back in the back that we're just talking about, obviously they don't really care about those, and they're just letting those decay.
Yes.
So when you go there, there are people there. It's not like it's completely empty. But I would say we were probably the only people that were like exploring. But
Yeah, I would think.
there's other people there that are doing studies or taking classes and that kind of thing. So there's a handful of people there when you're out there poking
Yeah.
around. But
Yeah, it's not totally desolate because
yep,
when we walked over to the other side of everything, there was some pretty newish looking, I guess you would call them like mobile homes that were there set up with,
yeah,
air conditioners going and everything. And it was kind of funny because we were talking about, how in the hell do they get the power out here? Because one thing that you notice when you're there is all the power lines. They're there, but there's no power lines to them,
yeah, they're all just cut.
or they're cut and dangling, just 5 feet over your head. They're not live or anything, but it's still a
Sure.
freaky thing to see. But then there was like they have a little solar farm there, I think, and that's what's providing them with their power to a lot of those mobile homes that are there that for the residents that live at Xyzax.
Yep.
So yeah, it was very interesting to see it. Eh, that whole stuff that was in the back with the pool house and those little sunset bungalow things was probably the most dilapidated of everything. Whereas, like you said, everything else was pretty well kept up. The like the I guess you would call it the main building that's there that runs like the length of the road that you are walking down on is in really really good shape, and it looked like there was even like a store or something that was there. It was locked when we were there, but that would have been
Sure.
cool to get my some sort of Zzyzx bumper sticker or
Yeah.
something. And I
Exactly.
totally would have bought one. Oh, you're our first customer of the year, that kind of thing. That's what it felt like.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, and you did mention earlier, and I want to kind of bring it back to when you were talking about how quiet it was out there, and when we were exploring those like bungalows, those sunset bungalows, we walked a little bit past them, and I guess there's a trail that will take you back into some other experimental area or something. We didn't go; it was getting a little late, and we needed to make it to the to Nevada, but how eerily quiet it was
Yep.
e- I I don't think I've been in an area that's that quiet before in many 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 years. And I have tinnitus, so my I have a constant ringing in my ear, and for some reason when I was there it just felt a little less intense. So I don't know, I might see if I can go move there or something.
Sure. Well, I mean, I guess Springer had a good idea to build his healing center there because
Yeah,
obviously it has some effect even today.
yeah, it cured me. I just have to be in Xyzax and then my ear stops ringing.
Yes, that's
Um,
all you need to do.
there was other interesting things there. Uh, when we're walking in, okay, you're gonna have to explain this better. So you see like a basketball hoop, but what's next to the basketball hoop?
Okay, so this is a weird thing, and I I'm gonna have to go back there and try to talk to a park ranger or somebody and figure out exactly what this is because I could not figure it out. So there's this big, maybe like 20 feet by 30-foot concrete like sarcophagus almost,
Hmm.
So most of it was covered with concrete on the top and all four sides, but there were then these little kind of like chiseled out windows and holes on the side, and you could actually go in it. I didn't do that because it was kind of freaky.
Hmm.
Another sort of weird like lost thing, like this is where the
Yeah,
hatch is or something.
yeah, exactly.
Um, but
Could have
then
been
on
there.
yeah, exactly. And then on the side there were like pipes that were sticking out that were cut off.
Hmm.
But the random thing about this weird 20 by 30 concrete sarcophagus is that it was kind of directly in the middle of a basketball court.
Yes.
So it was so weird.
Yeah, because I mentioned that to you, and I asked you. I said because I am not very it's not very often I'm on a basketball court, and I was like, "Wow, that hoop's really high up." And I was like, "Is that regulation size?" And you're like, "Oh yeah, it's 10 feet." And I was like, "Huh." Because so it's a full regulation height basketball hoop that's there, but it's not even a half court. It's probably like
It's like
I
a
don't a
quarter
third
court.
court. Yeah, it was very trippy though, and that was next to another one of those like the little lakes that were dug out that was there. So that was also if you were playing basketball and you fouled somebody out and you knocked the ball into the water, then you're going into the
Yep.
drink.
Yeah, that was
I
also
thought
weird.
I thought about that after we had seen it. I was like, huh, okay, well, interesting place for a basketball hoop. But yeah, other than that, it was a very very interesting trip to get to see all of that. And I mean, it's beautiful out there though with the that salt flats and everything. And we were there a really good time of day. It was still pretty warm out there. It was a relatively warm weekend last weekend out in the desert, pushing close to almost like 5:30, 6 o'clock when we
Yeah.
were leaving. And just the way the sun was coming down and everything over it just looked awesome out there.
Yeah.
It was so, so cool. So, so cool.
Yes. If you're on the 15 freeway between Los Angeles and Las Vegas, and you've got, an extra hour or two you wanna spend looking at some weird ass shit.
Yeah, that's the
I
best way to
mean
put it.
there's also, there's if you're into nature, there's because of the water there's quite a bit of bird life. It's some of those little lakes are home to the endangered Mojave chub, which I learned is a type of fish. So
Yeah, and I saw there was a name of the street that said Chubb Street, and I
Chub
was
Street,
laughing
like
at it. I was laughing at it. It's like
yeah,
Chubb Street,
that's
being a
funny.
13-year-old. But I was like, but now I know it's it's the name of a bird or the bird that lives there. So
Is it a
makes
bird?
sense.
I think it's a fish, isn't it?
Oh no, it was a fish. It was a fish. You're
Yeah,
right. You just talked. Yeah, that's
yeah.
right.
I
It is
I believe it was a fish.
the fish. The fish is called a chub. Ay, ay, ay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're not a nature podcast.
No, we are not. We are not.
Yes.
It was really cool though, and that was your suggestion that we go there. So thank you for getting me to pull off the freeway and go take a look at that. That was definitely an adventure that I was excited to have. So it was very very cool.
Yeah.
I highly suggest it to anybody. And yeah, when you get off the highway, you're going to want to head south. Make sure that we mention that because people are going north, and I don't know what was there besides that broken down truck that's probably still there waiting to get picked up. So
Yes. Exactly.
um,
Yeah.
yeah, it was
So
cool. So,
yeah, and I filmed a little bit there.
mhm.
Over a year ago, I had gone there with my. I had taken a trip from Salt Lake City down to Los Angeles in my GeoPrism GSI that I had purchased in Utah. And this
Mhm.
was the last day. I had stopped at Xyzax on the last day, and I filmed a bunch of stuff. And then I got home and I realized that one of my SD cards had broken, so I didn't get all the footage that I needed to get. So I never
Mhm.
posted that video. So now that we went back, I shot a little bit more, and I was able to piece that together into my other video. So finally, over a year and a half later, I'll post this final video from my road
Nice.
trip in my Geo.
Nice.
Yeah. So it's not all from that day that I was driving down, but at least I was able to kind of finish the story with.
Yeah. Well, that's
Yeah.
awesome. That's going to be cool.
Yeah. So that'll go up hopefully next week.
Well, cool. So Zzyzx was awesome.
Yeah.
And so from there, we headed on over and got to our hotel and got settled in after the long drive. And pretty much it for that day. But it was what we had planned the next day. I mean, obviously, we were there for Radwood, but there was something else I think both of us were a little more excited to see. Well, not that Radwood wasn't bad. It was just different. It was more of an adventure. It was
Yeah.
something you'd never seen before. I've seen
Yep.
it.
We talked about
You
this
hadn't.
earlier on
We did.
one of our earlier episodes. I finally got to see the Hoover Dam.
Yep.
Yeah, so that was quite an experience, to come down through that road and well, actually, the first thing the road that we came in, the first thing that we saw was that new bridge.
Yes.
I'm not even sure if I remember the name of it. The Pat Tillman Bridge. I forget the other guy's name, but it's this huge, huge bridge that's about 1,000 feet in the air. It's only been there for about 10 years,
Mhm.
and it kind of bypasses the Hoover Dam, so you can get through that area down to Arizona more quickly.
Yes.
So that's the first thing you see as you're pulling and just looking up and seeing this massive bridge. But yeah, pulling up to see the Hoover Dam, it's just it's quite impressive, to see, when you finally park and get out and you walk over the thing, the sheer amount of concrete used
Yes.
to create this thing,
Uh-huh.
and the amount of water that it's holding back, even with the lower water levels that are there now.
Yeah.
Um, and just
It's
I really liked the Art Deco design. This thing was
oh, yeah.
designed during the Great Depression, so a lot of that was all the rage back then. And even some of the newer structures that they've built since kind of share that some of those Deco motifs, which is kind of cool that they've done that. So yeah, pretty amazing to see that finally.
Yeah, I had been in, I think, 2011, I wanna say is when I went. It
Yeah.
was I get it would have been right after the bridge was actually open, and I had forgotten about it until we had just gone, but when you round that one corner on that little road, and then that bridge comes into view, and you're just like, "Whoa, that's a big damn bridge."
Yes.
And then you see the dam, and you say, "That's a big damn dam."
Yes.
That was very, very impressive to see. Even, I've seen it before. Just it's something that'll always like get you when you see it. Just the enormity of it, which is just awesome. And I remember I had mentioned to you and anybody I've really told my Hoover Dam stories to. I'm like, the best thing to do is to stand on the bridge or stand. I'm sorry, on the Hoover Dam, which is great in itself, but just to see the bridge and the way that the big arc goes and kind of just perfectly like frames this beautiful like mountainous like oh it's just awesome looking. It looks like a painting,
Yeah.
it looked pretty good when we were there, but I remember when I was there in 2011, I think I want to say even earlier in the day we were there like right when it opened, so it was just kind of the way the sun had hit it and everything like that had made for an even more like dramatic look to those mountains that were like right on the other side of the bridge of the arc that were all framed in.
Hmm.
But it was still pretty magnificent to see it again. So,
Yeah.
and standing on that thing, on the Hoover Dam, if you're afraid of heights, it can be a little scary because you look over the ledge and it's a pretty thick ledge and there's signs on it, don't stand on the ledge, don't stand on the ledge, but you look over the ledge and that's a big drop. That's 700 and I think it was 30 something feet of just drop
Yep.
down. And it can really take your breath away. Just the enormity of that thing. It's pretty trippy. But yeah, the bridge is a lot of fun because halfway across the bridge is the state line from Nevada to Arizona. And so you can play Nevada, Arizona,
Yep. Just jump back and forth.
back and forth,
Good old fun. Good old
Good old
state line fun.
good old state line fun. It's also a different time zone, so that's also fun too. But I tried my iPhone didn't change times when I would switch back and forth. I was hoping it would do that, and then it would have been hilarious to see, but it did not.
It did not.
Um, but still, it was very, very cool. We were even there. It was probably 11:30, and I mean, it was a Saturday, but it was pretty packed. There was quite a few people on the bridge, or not the bridge. I'm sorry, the bridge. We're coming to the bridge. We're still on the dam. We're still on the dam.
Yep.
Um, but it's pretty cool, and, there's a lot of people taking pictures and having fun,
Yeah.
but, just that, like you're saying about the Art Deco, the structure of it and, like, also all the fonts and everything and a lot of the stuff that's, like, engraved in it. It looks so awesome, and you said it when we were there that the, what do they call those things? The little, like, on the opposite side of the dam from, like,
Like the intake towers.
yes,
Yeah,
those
the
things,
intake towers.
they don't get as much love as they should. Those things are just so awesome looking. They're, you
Yeah,
know
anytime you see a photo of the Hoover Dam, even Ansel Adams has a really kind of famous photo of the Hoover Dam. It's just the front of it
yeah,
basically. The arch of the concrete holding back the river. But
yes,
on the other side, look on the other side and you see these kind of tall, just strange looking intake towers where the
yep,
water goes in, and those are impressive in their own right.
yes.
And they're cool looking.
They're very cool looking, and they're perfectly mirrored to each other. One's on the Arizona side, one's on the Nevada side, and you think us as a species made this crazy thing in the 1930s with all this concrete, and it's all just perfect the way it's done. It's just it's just so awesome to see it. It's definitely something to check out, and I've mentioned it before. It's from like the strip of Las Vegas. It's like probably a 45-minute drive.
Yep.
It's not very far. You're there with your family, and there's lots of family fun events you can do in Las Vegas, but this is one that is absolutely spectacular that, everyone needs to see. It's really cool. And it's a really fun facility because, there's the dam, there's like they had just the last time I had been there, at least I think, they have built a whole nother like structure there that's like a learning center type of a thing, but it looks old. If
Yes.
you, yeah, I was like, I think that's old. Then I looked at it, I was like, no, that's new. They just made it look old.
Exactly.
Trickery right there. But yeah, that's there, and then they've got a gift shop, and we also heard that they have the best soft serve ice cream in the world. There is that what we heard?
Yeah, I heard that. Yeah, my friend Nick has said that their soft serve ice cream there is great. We didn't have that,
No,
but
we didn't.
apparently that's a thing.
Yeah.
And then I guess the other thing to note is I talked about the Hoover Dam with some of my friends, and quite a few people didn't realize that you can drive over it. Back in the day, obviously you could, but then they closed it after 9/11.
Yep.
And I don't remember exactly when they opened it up, but yeah, today you can definitely drive your car, motorcycle, truck, whatever you want over the Hoover Dam, which is, we did not do that, but
No.
but it is something you can do.
And there was quite a few travelers going over it, both directions, the majority being motorcycles.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
there was a lot of those,
Yep.
and a couple Lamborghinis.
Yep. And a
So,
Polaris slingshot.
yes, and slingshots, a lot of
Yes.
slingshots, which is
So one of the things you can see, obviously, from the Hoover Dam when you're standing on it is you can see that new bridge
yes,
right across the way. And that bridge is even taller than the Hoover Dam by a fair amount.
Mhm.
That one's almost 1,000 feet off the.
Yeah,
I believe so.
that's the statistic I heard on it. Now, the bridge itself, you can drive over obviously the bridge, but there's concrete barriers that are pretty high to, just in case a semi truck or something gets into an accident on this bridge, they don't then plummet 1,000 feet. So you can't really see anything when you're driving over it. But what they do offer is when you are leaving the Hoover Dam on the Nevada side, there's I guess they call it like the bridge walkway,
Yeah.
and you park and you ascend approximately 55,000 stairs.
Yes.
Not really. It was
It was a few. It was
it
warm,
was
and we were
it
like,
was yeah. I didn't have any water. It was good times,
yeah,
but I was
drink
well
some water and some sunscreen.
was well prepared.
Oh, and by the way, I just looked it up. It's the Mike O'Callaghan Pat Tillman Memorial Bridge. That's a mouthful, but that's what it is.
There you go. I knew it was Pat Tillman, but I forgot the other.
Yeah, I forgot the other guy. Sorry, Mike.
So you ascend these steps, and then it gets you basically up onto Highway 93. I think that's what it is. That is the part of the bridge that crosses over.
Yeah, technically Interstate 11 and 93. Yeah.
There you go.
Yep.
Yeah. But it's only available to walk on the side that faces the Hoover Dam,
Yep.
which is fine. It would be kind of cool if they'd let you get onto the other side to see like the other way, but whatever. I'll write them a strongly worded letter about that.
Yes.
But I didn't do that the last time I was out there, and oh my goodness, it is awesome to see that Hoover Dam from up there, because when you're standing on the Hoover Dam, and I was talking about it just a second ago, it's like it's huge. It's such a long drop down. When you're on top of that bridge, nah,
It
that,
looks
that
tiny.
thing's nothing. Thing is nothing.
Yeah, so if you are afraid of heights,
hmm
the Hoover Dam's a little bit easier to take because there's a thick, it's kind of a thick barrier between you and and the sheer drop off.
Yes.
But so this Mike O'Callaghan Pat Tillman Memorial Bridge, you can walk all the way to the middle, and at that, actually, I just looked it up. It's 890 feet, and as you're walking through this, you've got semi trucks. This is a freeway essentially.
Yep.
Passing you. So you get semi trucks passing you, and as each semi truck goes by, you can feel the bridge shaking a little bit, which is disconcerting. So if you're afraid of heights, that's just another thing working against you.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing I found interesting is that it's just sort of a standard issue railing between you and this drop off. So yeah, it's I could see some people might be getting sweaty palms and as they're walking through, but for me it was just amazing to be able to see the Hoover Dam, which, like you said, is an immense structure, and beyond another structure that makes this thing look minuscule.
Yeah. It's a sight you have to see yourself, and
If you're not afraid of heights.
if you're not afraid of heights.
Even if you are, just to hold your breath and
Yeah,
or
and, you know,
yeah.
there was quite a bit of foot traffic up there as well, and that like, that little walkway, it'll go all the way across the bridge, but then it just
It
ends
just
as far
ends.
as I know, because it
Yep.
said no exit at the end of bridge, so I think it just stops, so
Yep.
you can't, like, continue on walking or something, but, yeah, we walked out to about the center of it, and there's, you know, quite a few people out there taking selfies and just taking lots of pictures, and there was that one guy that was kinda standing there, this rough and tough biker guy, and he's looking over the bridge, and he goes, "I've seen this thing I don't know how many times, and every time I do, I still get scared."
Yeah.
It's just like, you know, it's just
I just
it's
think that you gotta have a death grip on your phone if you're trying to take any pictures.
oh, yeah, I definitely
Yeah.
was because I was just doing that. I'd be curious to know if there's, like, some sort of way for them to tell how many phones have been accidentally dropped off of the Memorial Bridge.
Yeah.
There's probably quite a few then down in the valley below. So, it was very, very cool. I mean, it was actually kinda hot up there, but it
Yeah.
was also very cool to see that and to get to walk on that, and it kind of perfectly segued our day in a way because when we were up there, we saw something cross over the bridge that was like, "Well, what the hell was that?"
Yes, that's a perfect segue.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we saw this orange flash towing something that was a yellow flash. We were like,
Yes.
"What is that?" Turns out it was some sort of Lamborghini truck. Maybe they made a
Yeah.
truck back in the day.
Yes, yes, they
Yeah.
did. We'll get to that one in a minute. That's what it looked like to me.
Yeah.
Actually, when I saw it, I thought that both of them were being towed, but
Yeah.
I guess that was not the case. And that
Yeah.
yellow flash was I wasn't quite sure what it was. You had to help me on that one.
Well, I thought it was a 288 GTO Ferrari.
Mhm.
Um, but I think once we actually made it to Radwood, that might not have been the case. It might have been some sort of replica or something like that. But
Right.
because that's a pretty rare Ferrari.
Yes.
But the Lamborghini, was it LM
LM 002.
002? That's a perfect segue into Radwood. So
Yeah.
later that day, we headed out to the Las Vegas Convention Center.
Yep.
In the parking lot out there underneath this monorail. So sort of
Monorail.
like monorail.
Monorail.
It was a really, really nice setting for the show
Yes.
because they actually had the show later in the day. So as
Mhm.
the sun went down, you get to see all these beautiful 80s and weird and cool and some ugly, depending on who you ask, 80s and 90s cars
Yeah.
and in kind of really nice lighting conditions, perfect for photos. So,
Yeah. It
um,
it it was, definitely it was kind of an experiment, with doing a later show like that, I think, for the guys. But it ended up working out pretty good because, you know, throughout the week, I've been getting a pretty decent feed on my Instagram, seeing people's photos from the event, and with it running late, it allowed the golden hour to get captured really, really, really well, and
yeah.
that kind of set the bar really high for the photography that was at this show, I think. Some really cool shots were taken out there with, you know, just the perfect amount of the sun going down and everything. So it was pretty sweet.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
and I had a ton of fun talking to everybody there.
yeah,
There's always I just love hearing the stories about everybody's vehicles that they've got there.
yeah.
Um, in terms of, some of our favorites, I think you and I both really liked the 1983 Nissan Skyline R30.
Hmm, hmm.
That was lovely. That was
Yes,
a
it
really,
was.
really nice car. I took way
So
too many
nice.
pictures of that
So
car.
as did I, as did I.
Yep.
Yeah, that was a absolutely gorgeous car. You know, it did end up winning Radisson Show
Yeah.
for the event, which I think it definitely deserved. Very cool car. They're kind of the forgotten Skyline. You know, everybody thinks of Nissan Skylines and their mind goes to the GTRs, you know, your R32, 33, 34, and then current 35, and or some of the old classic ones like the original GTR from 1969, 1970, if my years
Mhm.
are correct. I'm sure they're not, and someone's going to yell at me, but that's fine. But these Skylines in the early 1980s, they did not carry a GTR badge. They carried, you know, different types of badges. So this was
Sure.
the RS Turbo, so it
Yep.
had a four-cylinder engine in it. with a turbocharger on it. And, just the way things were in the early 1980s, getting a bit more efficient and the likes of that. But they had actually that car itself, they obviously made up a normal everyday version of the vehicle, which this was. But Nissan had some race cars they made in the early 1980s that were dubbed the super silhouette race cars, if
Mm-hmm.
I'm not mistaken. They had an R30 Skyline. They also had what would have been like I guess you would say a Sylvia like S11 and S12. And a lot of this is where the body kits were very, very wild and very, early in the idea of aerodynamics and everything flowing over the car to keep it sucked down to the road. And it actually sparked that whole I cannot say it right, Bosozoku movement
Mm-hmm.
that's in Japan that you see a lot of people do to like their K vans and stuff like that.
Yep.
So pretty cool, very cool history with the cars. Gorgeous example that was there. It was probably the most photographed car at the event.
Yeah, I would think so.
Which was well deserved, very very well deserved. But there was some other really really cool stuff that was there too. Of course. What did you what was some of your standouts you saw?
I really like Brad's Plymouth Sapporo.
Oh yes,
Sapporo Technica. Am I saying that right? Sapporo or Sapporo? Sapporo.
yeah, that's fine.
It's fine, close enough.
Close enough.
I just the story behind that car of, it was basically junked with like very low miles and,
Mhm.
saved it. And it's, it could use some paint, but it's just a car that you don't see anymore. And it's got a really cool look to it.
Yes.
I posted a picture of this on my Instagram, and most people were like, I don't know what that is. It's just kind of a neat car to have that
Yeah.
that nobody else has. He probably has one of a handful that are left.
Yeah, no, and it just that particular car of his it just drips character with like the things that you don't see in photos a lot. And I don't know if there's any bit of him being proud of it or not looking like this, but the writing that's on the fender, like that was actually my favorite part of the car. Like from the grease pen from the junkyard.
From the
Like
junkyard.
it's
Yep.
on there and it's just like,
This car was
whoa.
saved from a junkyard, and it says something
Yeah.
like December 2009 on the side of it
Yeah.
or something.
That's so
Yep.
cool. Like it adds so much character to the car.
Well, we got to talk to Brad soon because we need another Brad on the podcast to be our
We
guest. We
do.
got to keep the
We
Brad
got
quotient very high.
We do.
So-
Yeah, we gotta get him and Andrew on to
Yep.
talk about Mitsubishis.
Yes, perfect.
Yeah,
Definitely.
his car was awesome. Another huge standout to me that I didn't think would be a standout, but that's what the Radwood show does, was I'm gonna blank on the year. I want to say it was that 1994 Acura Legend. Was it a
Yes.
94?
I think it was a 94. It was somewhere
94.
around there. That was beautiful.
Oh my goodness, that thing was just in just perfect condition. It looked like it was from an Acura dealership, like private collection, but it was actually privately owned as far as we could tell. But it was in just absolute magnificent condition, and it was the manual transmission, but it looked like it had like all the other options on it too, and they had a little photocopy of the window sticker or
Yep.
reproduced one on it, and that was probably the thing that threw me back the most was seeing what the price for this thing was in 1994. It was something like it was like $48,000 in
Yes.
1994, and I think we calculated it out to be somewhere in the neighborhood of like
Yep.
$68,000 in 2019 money. So
It was like pricey car.
yes,
Yep.
very pricey. But it was immaculate. I really enjoyed gawking at that car and just looking at the angles on it. You don't see them every day, and if you do, the majority of them are clapped out.
Yeah.
Something in that good of condition you don't see unless you're at a Radwood show. That car really stood out to me, and like I may have been looking on Craigslist and offer up for Acura Legends just in case I run across one for cheap.
Yep.
But that's not what I need to be doing right now, but that's what I'm doing. See? Damn you, Radwood.
Yes. I know.
So
So that car is Tyson's car. Tyson, I'm not sure how to pronounce his last name. I probably should ask him. Tyson Huggy or Hughie.
okay.
He has a website called drive to5.com where
Okay.
he documents his collection of Acuras,
Hmm.
and that's one of many that he owns. And he's been to a bunch of Radwood shows.
Okay.
Um, so yeah, this is one of his fleet. This isn't the one that has over 500,000 miles on it. I believe this one had 100 and something, but this one is just perfect
Hmm.
condition. Yeah, and it kind of makes me want one.
Right. Huh. Well, it's
Yep,
funny. That's kind of like, everybody's, says like the Radwood effect, but like, since the shows have been going on and I've been to a couple of them now and like gotten to really appreciate some things, it's like, if you've ever gotten into wine at first, it's just like, oh, this is disgusting. But then like you kind of get an acquired taste for it. And before you know it, you're like kind of, super into it and you can almost call yourself a wine connoisseur. And that's kind of the same thing with Radwood. It's just like, I didn't think I was into Acuras from the 1990s that were not the NSX or the Integra, but like
sure.
after seeing that, I'm like, I would daily drive the crap out of that car. That would be amazing. That would be so nice.
Yeah,
So nice.
for
So
sure.
yeah, that was a big standout to me at the show. I'm trying to think there. I mean, there's plenty.
There
It
was
was a
there's a DeLorean with a Lotus engine swap.
Yes, the
I
Lotus,
didn't
V8 twin turbo from
yeah,
the Esprit from the, early 2000s, I think?
I was trying to track that guy down and talk to him about it because he did some other sort of interesting mods that were he had some different kind of wheels and like this
Yeah.
like a cover over the headlights and that kind of thing. It was a very interesting engine swap choice. I thought
Y
like, okay,
of all the cars that were
Lotus. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Of all the cars that were there, that DeLorean said Las Vegas
Oh yeah.
to me the most. I don't know why. Maybe it was just the wheels or, like, I think didn't he have, like, a side graphic on it too or something?
I think so.
There was just something, and that car just screamed Las Vegas to me. That screamed cruising down the Las Vegas Strip at like,
Yep.
11 o'clock at night on a Saturday
Totally.
night and just ripping it and, revving it and, doing all those crazy things that happen out there on the strip. That's what it at least said to me. And I mean, I'm sure it would definitely be able to rip it with that Lotus V8 engine that was in it. So it was a very, very cool car to see.
Those the mods that were done, initially I looked at it, I'm like, I don't like it. But through, as we were there at Radwood throughout the evening, I
Mhm.
started to warm up to it. And I think I've realized that I just don't like stock DeLoreans. Um,
Okay.
Purists would be very upset with this vehicle.
Mhm.
But I guess I don't really like a lot of people, I don't like the motor that's in the DeLorean.
Right.
So this was really, really unique interesting mods that were done to DeLorean that I've never seen before. So that's
Right.
what I liked about it. That wasn't just like, oh, it's throwing LS in it. No.
Exactly, and that was definitely cool because yeah, that's I remember hearing it coming in, and it sounded like pretty burbly, like there was a
Yes.
V8 in it, but it was a little quiet, and then it all made sense to me when I saw that it was that Lotus engine with the twin turbos that quieted it down quite a bit.
Yep.
But yeah, that's like the common thing with the DeLorean. I just throw an LS in it, which is great that you can do that, and I'm sure it's a hell of a lot of fun to drive around. But having the Lotus engine versus the LS made it that much more unique and,
Yeah.
totally a Las Vegas car.
Totally.
Totally a Las Vegas
Yep.
car. Other standouts, I mean, there was a very, very good mix of cars there. Some really early 1980s, well, actually, there was one early 80s, Mercedes 240 TD Wagon in that I guess we all decided it was avocado green. Maybe it was a little too
Yeah.
dark. I really loved that car. I thought it was really great, but, like, next to it was, oh, I'm gonna get trampled on the chassis code, so I'll just say it was a 300 TD, so it was a couple generations later, wagon that was white on the typical, like, those large Mercedes, they're like the Lawrencer type wheels that are the big
Yeah.
plates. Gorgeous looking car, and it
Yep.
had the backwards facing rear seat in it and
Yep.
everything. Super, super cool, like, so you had, like, that scene, you had, the obviously, the Lamborghini, LM002 was there, which, you know, I know they didn't make a whole ton of those things, and the guys that brought it out, I just was hearing them talking about how they had done some pretty extensive body modifications to that, as well as the Ferrari that
Yep.
was on the, trailer they had brought in. It was meant to look like the, 288 GTO, but it was really a 308 with a body kit, I
Something
think
like that.
it was still cool to see that Lamborghini there. Those did use the same engine as the Countach, if I'm not mistaken. There's a big old V12 strapped to a 6-speed manual transmission.
Yep.
Pretty wild. I know they've gained a lot of notoriety, and they're coming back in the limelight now with Lamborghini in their, how do you say it?
Urus.
Urus.
Yep.
That has come out. That is a hot source of debate in the automotive world right now. Do you like it or do you not like it?
Sure.
So
I think if you drove it, you'd probably like it.
Oh yeah, I mean,
but yeah, it's hard to look at.
I like it. Yeah, that's kind of, I like the Aztec too, and it looks like an Aztec, so it's just like a muscled out Aztec to me. So yeah. Good mix of cars that was there for sure.
And there were a few that were. I talked to a few people that they brought their first car.
Yes.
So I'm spacing on their names, but there was a guy there who brought his like an early '90s Toyota Celica, and he got it for free.
Mm-hmm.
And he had done a lot of little mods on it to try to. He had taken an auto shop class and worked on the car a whole lot and got it out to Radwood. So
yeah, that was Gino.
There you
go. The black Celica. Yeah, that was. And him, and he had a couple of other of his buddies with him, and then there was Evan, who had the Daihatsu Charade sedan.
Yes.
Who I may or may not know. He may or may not be one of the 3 members of the Daihatsu Club of America.
I think he probably is.
Yes. But yeah, it was really cool to see those guys out there, and I'm not trying to corner them on their age or anything, but it was refreshing to see. I don't want to even call them the younger generation, but the younger generation, the guys that are, just not even into their 20s yet, participating in the show, that have an enthusiasm for these types of cars.
Sure.
It was awesome to see that. Because truly, I'm sure these shows will be going on for years to come, and, everybody, it's inevitable. Everybody's going to age. And so we are ushering in the new generation already.
There you go.
So, and they're their first cars, and it's awesome that they have such unique cars, that they wanted to seek them out and do that and get them all fixed up and ready to come out to the show. That was there was the Celica, and then there was a Dodge Durango. I don't know much about Durangos, but it was brown, and you don't see a lot of those first generation Durangos anymore. When I looked at it, I was like, you used to see them everywhere. You don't see them that much anymore.
Yeah, maybe cars. The
Cash for Clunkers got them.
Cash for Clunkers, yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
That could be.
That was a Celica, the little brown Celica, or was it a Celica, or was it a Corolla? It was a Corolla.
Yep, it was Corolla. I always loved that body style. That I think it was early '80s. It was definitely before the '84, so it might have been like somewhere between '80 and '83, I believe.
Yeah.
That's just a lovely body style. He had Celica wheels on it, and he was talking about how he was going to redo the interior and a few other things. But this was one of those cars that had a rattle can paint job. The interior was trashed, but it was just you just don't see these anymore. So I was happy to see it even in kind of rough around the edges. So
it was great to see that out there. And again, that goes to show like the mix of cars. I mean, you got these guys out there with presumably their very first cars that they're just starting to work on, and they're at the same show that what would probably be the most craziest thing that was out there. I mean, the R30 Skyline, your couple NSXs, the 911s that were there.
Yep.
It was, they share the same space, and
exactly
that's awesome about the show. Yeah, so it was really cool talking to those guys and getting to see a Charade sedan up close and personal. So that was interesting.
Definitely.
Yeah, there was. I mean, check out both of our Instagrams, and you can see there was a good mix of cars that were there, and obviously Redwood Official. They've got a ton of pictures up from the show. It was fun. I think they should definitely do it again next year. Maybe start it an hour later just to avoid the foot burning asphalt taking the toll on people, because it wasn't as hot as it could be, but it was still pretty damn hot.
Yeah. So I think what a lot of people were doing, so that monorail was like right above the show, like off to the side, and as the sun was going down, I think everybody was slowly like just following the shadow of the monorail tracks just to stay in the shade because there was no
Yeah.
trees or anything.
Yeah. It was
Yeah.
kind of funny because you could when the one observation I had is when the sun really started to go down and all the pictures started to pop, it was just like nobody was talking to each other. Everybody was just out shooting pictures, which
Yeah.
was kind of awesome to see. It was like, oh, look at everybody's taking pictures of, and it was of everything. Everybody's got, probably a really great picture from the cars that were there. So very
So
cool
overall
event.
it was a fun show.
Yeah, it
And
was.
yet another Radwood that we attended. I've been to a bunch of these things.
Yeah, that was only my third one because I've
Oh
just done
man, you got to
the
catch
two
up,
others.
dude.
I do. I've got the stuff in the garage to get the Daihatsu ready, and hopefully everything works out, and I will take it up to NorCal. Some people that live in Santa Cruz were bad mouthing it, and I said, "You guys got to drive it. I've got to get it
Some
up there."
people Lane.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
Lane from Driving While Awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'm
Okay.
sure they'd all like to take a turn in it just to see what it's like to live that charade life,
Yeah. I'm not sure you'll ever convince Lane to like a Daihatsu. I don't think
Yeah,
it's going to happen.
yeah, I know.
Yep. Sorry.
But it'll be fun.
Lost cause.
Yeah, it was an awesome show though. It was a great trip we had. It was a ton of fun getting out and just having a weekend kind of away, going on a little adventure, going to a car show, eating some mediocre tacos, and that whole 9 yards. So it was good times.
Yep,
So
definitely. I mean, yeah, I was a little disappointed in the tacos that we had in Vegas, but we'll keep searching. I know there's
yeah,
good tacos there.
yeah. They're still working on their tacos.
Sure.
They're not that far from LA, but they still got a little ways to go before
Yeah.
they.
Yeah. So overall, great show. So I guess we should probably wrap this up.
Yeah.
You got some news in terms of your social media handles. You made some changes.
I did.
So what's going on there?
Well, I kind of wanted to switch things up a little bit. I know we had Derek on the other week, and he was just talking about how he said something that kind of really resonated with me when he's like, "Oh, my name's all over the internet, so my social media is, Derek Powell at like Instagram or at Derek Powell, whatever the case was." And I was just like, it's kind of right in a way. And I've been thinking about it for a while before that too, and that was kind of like the real kick to get me to switch my Instagram name. I changed all of it too. So I was thinking, what am I going to change my name to? I because if I just did my whole name, it's long and people spell it wrong. So I was like, well, what if I kind of have my name in it for sure, and then just maybe put something else that I really, really enjoy. I'm a big fan of the Scott Pilgrim books, the comic books that came out, and then they made it into a movie. And the comic books came out in 6 different series, and one of them was Scott Pilgrim's Finest Hour. So I was like, well, what if I just do Paul's Finest Hour? It just rung and sounded great. So that's where you can find me now on Instagram and on Twitter.
There you go. You
So,
made some big changes this week.
big changes.
Big changes. Changed your name.
Changed my name. So yeah, Instagram and Twitter are both now Paul's Finest Hour. That's
Nice.
it. Yeah, it rings
Nice.
good. I'm happy with it.
Yeah, and you can find me at Mr. Ethan Tufts on Instagram and Twitter. I've actually done a little bit more tweeting lately, talking about catch up to fry ratio. That was my latest tweet. Really
Yes.
important stuff. We're talking about really
I witnessed
big
that.
issue.
I was going to say I witnessed that firsthand, and the amount of ketchup that was on your plate at the continental breakfast at our hotel versus the egg was pretty much 1-to-1.
1-to-1.
Yeah.
That's the appropriate answer. There's no.
I'm kind of the same thing with hot sauce, but
Okay.
Maybe not 1-to-1. Maybe like 1-to-6.
All right.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Cool.
So yeah, that's what's going on with our Instagrams and our tweets and all that stuff. So I guess that's it, huh?
Yeah, that's about it. I mean, we got a lot of fun stuff coming up. We've got your YouTube giveaway of the 740 IL.
Yeah. So hopefully I'm gonna choose a winner soon of who's gonna get my E38. The project. It's either the best or worst thing that's ever going to happen to them. Yeah, so that's coming up soon. So maybe next podcast we'll have some more news on that.
Awesome. Well, I think that about covers it for the evening. So thank you, everybody, for listening. Get out and adventure. Go to Zzyzx Road. Go to the Hoover Dam. Do it. It's definitely worth it.
Definitely.
next time you're out there, check it out. So, well, thank you everyone for listening. We appreciate it.
Okay, see you later.